All right, folks, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Infinity Fantasy Baseball League podcast. I'm your host. I'm going to stay anonymous because this is going to be embarrassing as shit. So, no names. What are we going to do on this podcast? We're going to talk mostly week to week. We're going to talk about what's happening, what happened in the last week, how some of the games played out, and what the future games have in store for us. But right now, I've got a bunch of notes in front of me that I'm going to need to get through because there's a lot to cover. We just had a lot going on, and I need to get caught up on this thing. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover in this podcast, in this episode. It's a little bit like a table of contents for those of you who can actually read. First of all, we had a lot of activity recently. Just 3 days ago, we had the league draft. And I'll tell you, that draft went 5 hours and 45 minutes. 5 hours and 45 minutes. Who does that? Who does a 5 hour and 45 minute draft? Now hold on. I sound like I'm upset and angry. I'm really not. It was fantastic. It was a lot of fun, so I'm not complaining. But who the hell does almost a 6 hour draft? And I'll tell you who does. The same people that bring you an hour and a half podcast every week. In theory. They feel like an hour and a half podcast of just a bunch of like dudes sitting around talking specifically about the Cardinals for an hour and a half. So if you can actually figure that out, that's who brings you a 6 hour draft. So yeah. Now I'm gonna make a promise. Wait, there's even worse. It was 6 hours. There was no bathroom breaks. There were no beer run breaks. There were no snack breaks or food breaks of any type. You just had to sit and that stupid beep, 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 this countdown clock of like, it must have been, I don't know how long it was, but it lasted forever. Couldn't even tuck my kids in because I was like so focused on this thing. I missed my other draft. I think a bunch of other people missed the draft. Again, I'm not complaining. I had a lot of fun. But still, 6 hours, man. Okay, so my promise to you is these podcasts, these weekly podcasts, will never go more than 15 minutes. I do not have the arrogance to think that you are going to give me more than 15 minutes. If you've actually reached this point, that's awesome because you've already given me like 2.5 minutes. So that's pretty cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. But sometimes we might go into overtime if there's like a lot going on. So, you know, and how long overtime is, who the hell knows? It's kind of like fear boners say, it's like communist kickball. Nobody knows how long overtime's going to go. It just does. And some guy randomly calls the end of it. But I promise you, regulation time will never go more than 15 minutes. Ever. Okay. So back to what are we going to cover in this episode? We're going to do a little bit of league history, talk about prior champions, what teams have been successful in the past. Most teams have never won anything in this league, but there's a couple that have been really successful, and we're going to just talk about that. Then, who won the keeper season? Now, we don't have a hot stove season, but we have a couple other seasons. The first is the keeper season. Who did the best with the keepers? Keeper season, I don't know how long it lasts, but it wraps up somewhere in February, and we don't really know who won the keeper season until we get to the draft. So I'll touch on that a little bit. Then the draft itself. Who won the draft? We'll talk about hitters, we'll talk about pitchers, and then we'll talk about overall. And then that kind of leads into sort of a power ranking of the teams going into the season. This will be the first power ranking. And that's just based on draft, right? It's just based on just speculation. We have no real data. But games start tomorrow. Games start on Thursday, and that's exciting. And then after that, we're going to talk about why we have the best commissioner in fantasy baseball. I know it sounds like I'm kissing ass, and I am. But there is a reason we have the best fantasy commissioner. He added something this year that's controversial as hell. I know some of you love it, some of you hate it. Actually, maybe I'm the only one that loves it. But I know most of you hated it. But anyway, I thought it was awesome, and I'll talk about it a little bit. And then at the end, if we have time, we're going to talk about week 1 games, and I'm going to put some, I'm going to tell you from a betting perspective, for those of you who'd like to do the sports book, you know, who you should be picking in this week's games. And if I get around to it, maybe I'll even put a little bit of pot of money, put my bank together, and we'll see how my bank up goes each week. Okay, so that's that. Where do we start? League history, really simple. So last year, 2022, in third place was the Bat Flippin' Boys. Came in with a strong showing in third place. And one thing I did, okay, I gotcha. One thing, I've got my producer off camera. He doesn't want to come on camera. He's here keeping me honest. He's here keeping me fed with stats if I need to bring any kind of player stats in. Also some of the stuff with the league. He's giving me all this stuff. What he's telling me now is I need to go back to the past and work my way up. Don't start with 2022. So 2022, third place, bat flipping boys. So I'm only going to go back to 2020 because that's my length in this league. So in 2020, the overall league champion, I know I'm going to speed it up. The overall league champion in 2020 was bat flipping boys. Pretty effing cool, right? First year in the league, and he wins the whole thing. Pretty strong team. A lot of guys have never won this league. Bat flipping boys. Oh yeah, he also got third last year. First in 2020. Okay, cut that segment. We're running out of time. We're done with the league history piece. Sorry I didn't get to the other years and other folks. A lot of other teams have done, a couple of teams have done well. Maybe next episode we can touch on those, maybe. Okay, so now let's get into the keeper season. And this is important. This is very important because the keeper season really is tees you up for the current season. And whoever wins the keeper season probably was shit last year, right? It's hard to win the keeper season if you weren't kind of like last place the year before, because, right? So the keeper season champion is also probably something around, the loser of last season as well. It's kind of, the awards kind of go hand in hand. So we'll see. But I got some stats for you on the keepers. Kind of interesting, marginally interesting. The average keeper team budget this year was $166. Each team on average spent $166 on keepers. The average cost per player was $21. I don't know what you're going to do with this information, but I thought it was kind of interesting. The highest keeper budget of all 16 teams came from ALDS Sour Grapes. I have no idea what that name means. Hopefully somebody can write in the comments about what that is. And that budget was $335. More than half their budget went to keepers. The lowest keeper budget, cheapskate, went to Breaking Brad, $0. Frickin' Pittsburgh Pirates kind of money over there. I mean, there are everybody's budget. Every player outside of Brad's team almost had an individual player. What? $0. I'm kind of making fun of it. Oh, so producer's telling me that, interesting, that Brad had a whole bunch of prospects at $0, and not only are these not like prospects like Putzes down in Peoria or something like that, these guys are actually like heart of the order guys this year. They're like actually made MLB rosters, and they're studs, and they're like 1 through 5 guys. So, okay, maybe not Pittsburgh Pirates. So, okay, cool. Yeah, pretty impressive actually. Most expensive keepers: Nolan Arenado, $106. Aaron Nola, $102. Mookie Betts, $101. Least expensive keepers: go fucking ask Brad. Go ask Mr. $0 keeper champion. And yes, Brad is our keeper season champion. There's no question about it. He is teed himself up for years of success in this league. But that's the last time I'm going to say it. I'm just going to complain from now on. But really good job, Brad. But that's it. I'm done. Giving Brad compliments on this one. Keeper season winner overall, yeah. Honorable mention, though, is hashtag Lola's Bearded Dragon. Why the hashtag? I don't know. But hashtag Lola's Bearded Dragon had had a hell of a keeper season. But Brad clearly won the keeper season. So we're going to move on. Who won the draft? Okay, so the draft. We got hitters, we got pitchers. Really two different strategies of what you're doing there. I'd be curious if anybody even looks at triples when they're assessing players. I'm not sure why we have that stat, but I ignore it. So I'm all about caught stealing. Anyway, let's go through hitters, then pitchers, then the overall draft winners. Let me see. How am I doing on time? I'm good, about 2/3 of the way through. Okay. So our hitters. This is painful. This is painful. We have a big difference. We have like 3 tiers of teams on the hitters ranks. We have at the top, we've got, I'll say we're going to have maybe 7 teams at the top. We've got at the very top of the hitters draft, and it's all very kind of close in here. We have Breaking Brad topping everybody off on the hitters draft. We got Red Wine Redbirds in second. We got Brick City Mules coming in behind that. Arizona Diablos Blancos, Team TNT, hashtag Lola Spirited Dragons, and then the Juneau Eskimos. That's tier 1. Tier 2, Matt's Marauders, Fear Boners, Team J to the P, Bat Flippin' Bloys, and Kempner Cardinals. And then if you didn't have your name mentioned, you're in that third tier. And really, the ADLSE, whatever the hell, Sour Grapes is like way down there. Sorry, guys. Pitchers. Who did best on pitchers? This is interesting. This is more of just a big old awesome to big old shit pile. The Kempner Cardinals, runaway winner on the pitching side. Red Wine Redbirds second, Breaking Brad third, Krusty Brand baseball team coming in next. My notes then have Mayor of Titty City, Arizona Diablos Blancos, and then it starts to fall off. At the absolute garbage is Brick City Mules. I'm sorry. It's just looking at the stats, the projections. It's garbage. A little bit better than garbage, more like the recycle bin, is Bat Flippin' Boys. So that's kind of embarrassing. Team TNT is right above that. Hashtag Lola Spirited Dragons. And then we got a big group. Everybody who I didn't mention is in the group. So kind of cool. We're starting to see a little bit of breakout at the top. You heard the same names: Red Wine Redbirds, Breaking Brad, and honestly, from an overall draft perspective, we've got 2 teams sitting at the top, a bunch in the middle, and a couple at the very bottom. I'm not going to go through them all; it's just too many teams to name. But I will tell you, it looks right now, and there's a lot of baseball to play, a lot of injuries to happen, and a lot of trades to be made, and a lot of paper, expectations to be dashed, and a lot of guys who have not yet been put on a team to come forward and be all-stars. But the 2 teams that look like they just absolutely ran away with the draft are Breaking Brad and Red Wine Redbirds. And then the Arizona Diablos Blancos coming in third, with Kempner Cardinals coming in just below that. That's what we're looking at there. So probably no real surprise with Red Wine Redbirds. They're always in the contender. He's the commissioner, so no doubt he cheats. Arizona Diablos Blancos, always competitive. Kempner Cardinals and Breaking Brad certainly have knowledge, but we haven't seen them be successful in this league yet. But I don't think it surprises anybody that they have those things. There is one other kind of draft award I want to give, and this is the Heaping Pile of Dog Shit Award. This is like a big, if I force-fed my dogs for days, tied up their ass, and just kept feeding them, and then finally one day let them go outside, and they take a big old dump, and it's a big old pile of steaming shit, we would call that Joey Gallo pile. That is Joey Gallo. So Fear Boners, you win the big heaping pile of dog shit called Joey Gallo. $2 for Joey Gallo. At least you overpaid by $2. But, you now have the stain of the big old Joey Gallo pile. Last was the commissioner piece, and that is simply, you guys have heard me say this before, and that is that having us lock in our keepers back in February, probably the most exciting thing I've seen happen in fantasy sports in years. I think it was accidental probably, but once the World Baseball Classic started, and then spring training and injuries, and we all, I think, collectively said, oh shit, I didn't take this into consideration. So people had some big dollars and injuries go down. It changed things up. I think it'll be really fun next year when we get to keepers in February to see who's willing to put $100 and something down on a guy who might get injured. We don't have the World Baseball Classic next year, so injury is not quite as high, as the chance of injury is not quite as high. But it really added a little bit of a surprise to this league this season, and that was pretty cool. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to have time to do Season 1, Baseball 1 odds. Maybe I'll throw that in the text group. But anyway, that's our first episode. I'm hitting 15 minutes on the mark. I got 30 seconds left. So what am I going to do? I wish I had a joke that I could tell you, but nothing's coming to mind. So we're going to cut it short. I'm going to cut it 10 seconds short, and I'm going to add that 10 seconds to a future episode. Anyway, good luck, everybody, this season.